I wasn't in the best mood when I finished putting my tools in the pickup truck late Thursday afternoon. The client I had been working with for the previous 2 weeks didn't seem to know what he wanted. He asked me to make one change after another to the original plan for the staircase I was to build. The last request made this morning was so extensive that I had to dismantle about half the work I had already done. On top of that, I had to go back to the architect and engineer because this fickle client's latest whim couldn't be accommodated without redrawing the structural plans. So the next day will be an unplanned day off. My name is Garrett Morrison. I am a master artist and owner of a small woodworking and carpentry shop that specializes in the design and construction of high-end staircases. My clients are wealthy owners of mansions, hotels, restaurants, and offices who can afford to pay more than $50,000 for an exclusive staircase made of a work of art. I just turned 34 and have been married for 4 years to 29-year-old Daphne Tupper. Daphne was a young and successful lawyer at Kramer, Boylan, and Hendricks, a law firm specializing in business and intellectual property law. We didn't have children yet, mainly because Daphne wanted to build her career first. I was surprised to see my wife's car in the driveway when I got home at 4:30 p.m. Daphne usually worked late on Thursday evenings in order to finish the work at a reasonable time on Friday. I entered the house through the back door, as I did every time I returned from construction. I set up a small bathroom with a shower next to the door so I could shower and change first thing after entering the house without blowing dust all over the house. The water pressure was lower than usual. Was my wife upstairs in the shower? This was strange because Daphne usually showered either in the morning or just before bed. I finished quickly, put on my lounge clothes, and went upstairs to see what my wife was doing at home that early Thursday afternoon. As I had guessed, Daphne had just gotten out of the shower and was now wearing sexy black fishnet stockings, and on the bed lay a brand new black dress, waiting for her turn. "Hey, honey, what are you doing here so early? And did I forget something? Do we have anything today that I didn't remember?" She looked at me with an expression that I had never seen on her face before. She looked a little nervous, but seemed to do her best not to show it. She sighed. "No, Garrett, you don't forget anything. Tonight I'll go outside. This is wrong. In fact, I'll be out until Sunday afternoon. I'm spending the weekend with Derek Kramer." "What are you doing?" "What the hell are you talking about? Is this a business trip or what?" "No, this is not a business trip, Garrett. Derek has a hotel room reserved for him and me. Next week I will be yours again, but this weekend I will spend it with him." She looked at me defiantly, but her entire speech sounded rehearsed. "No, that's not true. I don't want my wife to spend her weekends with another man. What kind of crap is this?" "Well, you better accept it, Garrett, because that's what Derek wants. And I suggest you don't mess with him," she said with a chuckle. "Ah, got it. Are you the lucky part of this plan? You want me to accept this, deal with it, and let you go? That you will be my faithful wife after this weekend?" I asked, with dripping sarcasm. "I never said it would only be this weekend. Derek has already told me that he would like to do this from time to time. So yeah, calm down and don't say a word. Knowing Derek, your life will be a lot easier if you shut up and stick to the program." "That remains to be seen. I'm not putting up with this kind of crap, Daphne. You better think about what you're doing, because I won't let that arrogant bastard rule my life. If you think I'm a pawn that you can move as you see fit without me saying a word about it, you're in for a nasty surprise, I tell you." By then, she was already getting ready for the evening. I went downstairs and took a beer out of the refrigerator. I saw a Mercedes just parked in front of the house. Mr. Smug came out himself, went to the front door and rang the bell. "Garrett, this is Derek. Will you come and open the door?" She shouted upstairs. I quickly punched the code into the back door alarm panel, then set my cell phone to record video and put it in my t-shirt pocket so it could film the whole thing. Then I waited in the living room. I've known Derek Kramer since Daphne started working at CBH 3 years ago. I first met him at a Christmas party at their office. He was a man of about 40-something, with a very dominant character. He seemed very friendly with his fellow partners, flirtatious and smooth with his female employees and the wives of his male employees. But in the presence of his male employees and the husbands of his female employees, His entire behavior radiated arrogance and contempt. I instantly disliked this guy. Daphne ran down the stairs in a rage. She went to open the door. I watched this scene from the living room, sipping my beer. "I'm so sorry you had to wait, Derek." "I don't know where my husband's manners are," she said with an obsequious air. She lowered her voice to say something else to asswipe, but I couldn't understand it from where I was. "Hey, Dusty boy, I'm told you have a problem with Daphne coming with me for the weekend," he boomed, like a school principal addressing a small child as he walked into the living room to talk to me. I couldn't believe the nerve this guy had. He was so busy with himself that he thought he was the boss in my own house. "Hey, shithead, get the hell out of my house, or I'll call the police," I said, clenching my fists. He laughed. Daphne was grinning next to him. "And what do you think the police will do?" I will answer, nothing. They won't do anything. Do you know why? Because, "Hey, are you filming me, you bastard?" He just saw my cell phone. He grabbed it and tried to stop the recording, but it was locked with a password. He threw it onto the ceramic floor. Of course, ceramics won the match. "Listen to me, smart guy. Your wife is coming with me this weekend, whether you like it or not. And she will spend time with me whenever I want. And no, a woodcutter like you has no say in this matter, okay? And if you do anything to get in my way, you will suffer. Hell will be a resort compared to your life. So you stay here quietly this weekend and shut the hell up. If I hear that you're upsetting Daphne or threatening to divorce her, or that you're doing something even stupider like trying to contact my wife, then everyone will know about the shady money laundering deals you made, or the baby pornography stored on your computer." I decided to play dumb. It is extremely unlikely that people will find out about this. Considering that I have never engaged in money laundering, I have never downloaded or even watched child porn, I answered automatically. "Oh, it's easy to arrange, you know. Loading stuff onto your computer is a simple task, you know. I have many things that can destroy your reputation in the blink of an eye." I decided that this was a good excuse to play even more stupidly. Child pornography is illegal. If you can download something onto my computer, does that mean you already have illegal materials? I asked naively. That's the difference between you and me. Some things that are illegal for you are perfectly acceptable for powerful people like me who have the right connections. So I strongly recommend that you continue to play with the working class and not bother the better people, you know? I could hardly believe what I had just heard. This kind of crap would be a little over the top even in a comedy film. But this guy here in my living room was serious. Oh, one more thing. Don't think about taking revenge on me or Daphne. This includes the possibility of getting even with her by having sex with someone else. I don't want to deal with the infection Daphne passed on from you to me. Okay? Because no, I'm not going to ask Daphne to deny you sex. Not really. At least for now. See that I'm not a bad guy? The point is, if you step out of line, I will know it. Fine? Now, let's go, honey. They returned to the front door. Daphne grabbed her bag and walked out. She didn't say goodbye or even look at me. Crap. He said to my wife, "Darling." The whole situation was so unearthly that I couldn't even be openly angry. My feelings were more of a mixture of anger and amazement. It was at this moment that I blessed the burglar who broke into my home the year before I met Daphne. I was so upset that I installed a complete surveillance and alarm system with motion-activated cameras and voice-activated microphones that could record everything that happened in the house and store it in the cloud. I never showed Daphne that the system could be put into recording mode while we were in the house, so she had no way of knowing that I had activated it before she opened the front door to let in the slimy slug. Then I activated the recording on my mobile phone. In fact, it was more like bait. I was more or less counting on Kramer to see it and find a way to turn it off. This would lower his guard, and then he would speak more freely, thinking that he was no longer being filmed. I was hoping this might be a good way to gather useful material for a possible divorce. The asshole gave me so much more than that. The cell phone that was now lying all over the floor was actually my work cell phone. After I started working with a wealthier clientele, I quickly realized that if I gave them my main cell phone, I would be working almost 24/7 because some of these people are like children. When they want something, they want it now. In their opinion, there was no bad time for them to call you, even after 11 p.m. and on weekends. The dedicated cell phone for work could be turned off at the end of the day, and I could receive messages the next morning. So at least, I wasn't left without a means of communication. I took my personal phone and called my business lawyer and best friend Harry. Harry Davenport married my older sister Jennifer 10 years ago. They were a perfectly happy couple until tragedy struck. They had been married for 4 years when Jennifer, while traveling with 3 of her friends to Guadeloupe, was caught in a rogue wave and drowned. My parents and I loved Harry, and even after his sister died, he always remained a member of our family. He met another woman 3 years after Jennifer's death. Christine is a fantastic woman who he married after a year of dating. My parents and I, along with Daphne, were invited to the wedding. To this day, Harry and Christine are like brother and sister to me. "Harry, I need your help," I screamed when he answered. I began to explain the situation to him. I repeated the threats Kramer had made before leaving with my wife for their private weekend. Harry understood these threats. "Okay, don't leave the house, don't call anyone, don't answer the phone, and don't open the door to anyone you don't know. And turn off the computer. Christina and I will be there in an hour. We'll bring dinner." I swiped away the remains of my work cell phone, grabbed another beer, and sat in the living room, trying to calm down from the events of the previous hour. I knew Daphne was attracted to Dickhead. Or rather, she was seduced by the aura of power he displayed. But I never thought that she could discard me like some useless trash and walk away with it. I thought she loved me as much as I loved her. It was a loud wake-up call. I met Daphne 5 years ago at a birthday party for a friend of a friend. I don't even remember how I ended up there that evening. I knew no more than 1 or 2 people. The birthday boy was the best friend of Daphne's brother, who couldn't even be there himself because he was in the army and was sent to Afghanistan. I ended up chatting with Daphne all evening. We started dating within a week and got married a year later. At that time, I was still working for Mr. Duncan. Craig Duncan was the founder of his small company. He was an excellent carpenter, famous in our area, but his accounting and management skills were virtually non-existent. He hired me as a part-time bookkeeper to do the bookkeeping while I was still in college. A couple of months after I started working for him, he landed 3 large contracts that were too heavy for the time he had to invest, but his clients wouldn't take no for an answer. So he asked me to step in and help him in the field. I started out as a helper, running errands, ordering supplies, and holding the long items he had to work with. But I learned quickly, and it turned out that I had a real talent for this work, so after a few months of training, I could handle simple jobs on my own, or be a real helper on more complex jobs. I graduated with a degree in accounting, but since I really enjoyed practical work, I also began my studies and received a certificate a few years later. I soon became Mr. Duncan's partner, and when he retired, my parents helped me by providing money so that I could buy him out within 2 years. I was well aware that the CBH lawyers thought I was an uneducated worker in a dusty store and didn't have a very high opinion of me, but I didn't care. My company was doing very well. I haven't been involved in many projects, but the ones I have taken on have been challenging and very rewarding. I had hired 2 associates in the previous months, and my net income and cost were higher than most of the lawyers who worked with my wife. But even she did not know this detail. My train of thought was interrupted by Christina and Harry, who brought out Chinese takeout and some beer. "Are you okay, Garrett?" Christina asked, giving me one of her warm hugs. "I can't believe Daphne did this to you. This is so unlike her." Harry gave me a manly hug. "Don't worry, buddy, we'll work it out. Let's have dinner, and then I'll watch your tape." I told them in detail about Daphne's cold shoulder when I returned home that day. After dinner, I took out my laptop and pulled out the files with 2 recordings from the camera and microphone. Luckily, the conversations were crystal clear. "I can't believe what I just heard," Harry said. "Quite an arrogant bastard, huh?" "No, it's a pretty stupid shot," Harry replied. "What is this guy? 42 years old? This means that he must have practiced law for about 15 years, so he's not a rookie. but he's so busy with himself that sometimes it doesn't occur to him to just shut up. Seriously, your idea of tricking him into thinking he wasn't recording anymore after he destroyed your cell phone was very, very clever. He completely fell for the bait and told us everything we needed. Okay, but can I use it if it was recorded without his consent? I asked. Certainly. This is your home. You are free to record whatever you want in your home, Harry assured me. So I have nothing to fear. Is that what you mean? I asked. No, that's not what I'm talking about. We must be extremely careful. I did a little research on the way here. Chris was kind enough to take the wheel and take care of the takeout. It turns out that our guy Kramer is the son of the founder of their law firm. You already knew about this, didn't you? Harry explained. I nodded. You may not know that his father, Marvin Kramer, had quite a reputation. He wasn't a very good lawyer, but most of the judges in the area were his former college friends. Because he knew everyone personally, it was easy for him to win most of his cases. Unfortunately, his son Derek was a model student of his father's teachings. This is what makes him dangerous. He has an extensive network of very friendly judges, and if he files a lawsuit, it will be extremely difficult to get a decision in our favor, no matter how illegal his machinations are. Wow. Are you saying that no matter what I do, I fool? No, not necessarily. It will be difficult to win, but possible. I know people too, you know. The trick is to gather enough evidence to make a slam-dunk case against him. I have a plan. But you're saying the judges will always rule in his favor? I asked. Unless the case goes to criminal court, that's what we'll try to do. We were interrupted by a knock on the front door. A little brunette stood on the porch. Hello, Mr. Morrison? She asked. Oh, hi, Laura. Come in, Harry asked, standing behind me. Garrett, this is Laura Foster. Laura works as a computer specialist for the private investigation firm we work with. I took the liberty of contacting her after I hung up this evening. We briefly outlined the situation to Laura and asked her to watch the tape of our conversation, especially the part where Kramer threatened to upload incriminating material onto my computer. Laura watched closely and then explained the game plan. Okay, there are two things they can do. Or they come here during the day, perhaps with the help of your wife, and then sit down at your computer and upload their crap after they've changed the date to make it look like the material was uploaded before Kramer's visit. If they do, your camera system will record everything. Just make sure you leave it in recording mode before you leave for work in the morning. She took a small gray box from her bag. Another thing they can do is remotely access your computer to do their monkey business. I'm going to install this module in front of your modem so we can record who is trying to access your router and what they are trying to upload or download. Take a few minutes to transfer all your personal or sensitive data and files to a flash drive and delete everything on your computer. The idea is to prevent them from accessing it. I will help you with this, if only to make sure that there is no hidden data that you are leaving on the computer unknowingly, Laura explained. She really seemed to know her stuff. Harry intervened. You see, Garrett, right now, the only thing you have is the tape to sue him for blackmail. Your case will be thrown out before you can explain it, because in public opinion it is not a very serious crime, and the judges he knows will probably support him. So the best thing that could happen is that Kramer downloaded illegal materials onto your computer and told the police that he had evidence that you were in possession of illegal materials. Then we'll have a trail showing that everything was done without you sitting in front of the computer. With the advance warning that Kramer gave us and which you wrote down, we will have enough material to get back at him with a serious case in criminal court. At this point, none of his fellow judges will want to be seen as condoning criminal activity, especially anything involving child pornography, so they will dump him. It's sick and twisted, I said. Yes, but so does Kramer. And lastly, can you manage without a computer in the next few days? If Kramer goes through with his plan and reports you, police inspectors will want to check computer records to see if anyone actually accessed the illegal files after they were downloaded. If we don't touch it, the records will be clean, and that will be even better for us. Also, make sure your cell phone doesn't connect to your home Wi-Fi network for the next few days, in case they try to use your phone instead of a computer. Laura installed a surveillance module and erased all confidential information, including my company documents, from my computer and cell phone. The module will send us copies of all access requests. I'll contact you and Harry as soon as we have something. Good luck, guys, Laura told us before leaving. Okay, let's get back to more mundane things, Harry said. Garrett, do you want to file for divorce right now, or do you want to wait until Daphne gets back to see if this can all be worked out? No! I want to get a divorce yesterday if possible. There is no way I can stay married to someone who is so easily manipulated and corrupted by self-proclaimed powerful men. No, I want to leave, without hesitation. Fine. I'll call Claudia Milton tomorrow. She is the family law expert in my office. She is good, fair, and efficient. I will ask her to call you as soon as possible. You'll like her, Harry said. We talked a little more. I gave Harry the access code to my recording system so he could see live what was happening and access what was stored in the cloud. Christine and Harry left around 11 p.m. The next day at 8:30, I received a call from Claudia Milton. She had just hung up with Harry, who had explained to me all the details of my predicament. She was waiting for me in her office at 11 says. The meeting with her went well. She knew about Derek Kramer's reputation and was very sorry that I had to cross paths with this person with a dubious reputation. She assured me that since I had bought the house before I met Daphne, and that her name was not on the deed, the house was still mine. We didn't have children, so divorce would have been very simple. What about my company? Is there a way they could force me to sell it and split the money? I asked. Claudia called Harry and asked him to join us. It didn't take long for Harry to calm everyone down. Do not worry about it. There is a clause in your prenuptial agreement that makes it clear that your company belongs to you and that she cannot lay claim to it. They'll probably try anyway, but I've double-checked everything and it's a dead end for them if they want to go there. I left Claudia Milton's office at 12:30 and took care of all the financial matters as she had instructed me to do. She told me that there was nothing more I could do, that she was taking responsibility for everything, and that Daphne would be serviced in her office on Monday morning. I also went to the store to replace my broken cell phone and used the rest of the weekend to do some yard work and watch my favorite TV series. Part of me was angry at Daphne, but the other part was still in denial, still unable to fully believe what was happening. I knew I would eventually grieve my marriage, but at that moment I was still too excited to be sad. I didn't expect Daphne to come home on Sunday. I was debating whether to sleep in the guest room or send her to the guest room. There's no way I'm sleeping with that stupid bitch again. In the end, I decided that this was my home and that she was the one who left me. So there was no way I was going to give up my bed. She will sleep in the guest room until she finds an apartment and moves out. I took all of her clothes and toiletries to the guest room, then went to the hardware store to get a new doorknob with a lock and install it on my bedroom door, keeping the key in my pocket. When I heard Asshole's car pull up the next evening, I switched the surveillance system to recording mode. I saw Daphne French kiss her boss, and then get out of the car and wave to him as he drove away. I was reading in the living room when she came in. "Hi, honey. How was your weekend?" she asked. She seemed nervous. She tried her best not to show it, but I could tell she wasn't as cool as she pretended to be. I didn't even look at her, let alone respond. "Okay, keep sulking and sulking. Derek was right when he said you would do this, that you didn't have the brains to understand my needs or the maturity to accept your inability to meet them." She went upstairs. I started counting. 1, 2, 3. "Garrett Morrison? What is this? You installed a lock in our bedroom?" "Correction. In my bedroom," I answered calmly. "All your things are in the guest bedroom. You will sleep there until you find an apartment." "What the hell?" "Wait until I tell Derek about this. That wasn't the point." "Deal. What's the matter? I didn't sign or even accept any of your asshole's crap. Either you sleep in the guest room or you leave. Maybe Kramer's wife will make room for you in her marital bed." She looked sideways at me. She didn't say a word, stormed into the guest room and slammed the door. I went upstairs and shouted to her through the door. "Speaking of the deal, what was in it for me?" She didn't answer. 15 minutes passed before my phone started buzzing. It was a series of text messages from a number I didn't recognize. What do I hear, Cook? You won't let Daphne into her own bedroom. I thought I explained the program to you in simple English. Even a store monkey like you can figure it out. Listen, I'll turn a blind eye to your childish crisis tonight and let you cool down. But tomorrow you will cook Daphne her favorite dinner and apologize to her for your behavior. If you behave for the rest of the week, I'll let her have sex with you next weekend. But if you don't do as I say, you will know that my threats are real. Very real. So you will do as I told you and ask no questions. Is it clear? I couldn't believe my eyes. This guy was at the crossroads between callous, delusional, and stupid. I didn't respond, but I took a photo of the conversation and sent it to Harry. Harry responded 3 minutes later. Unbelievable. This guy thinks he's a tough guy, but he's just a world-class idiot. Don't erase the conversation or respond to him. Kramer sent a couple more requests for confirmation, which I did not respond to. Finally, he stopped. I didn't see Daphne again that evening. I went to bed with the door locked and the recording system on. I wrote to one of my assistants to tell him that I would be arriving late the next day. I waited until Daphne left in the morning before getting up and getting ready. I made myself breakfast and ate it, downloading what my system had recorded overnight. Until this morning, Daphne had not left the guest room. She showered in the guest bathroom and left without eating breakfast. But I was surprised that she didn't try to do anything to my computer as I expected. I received a message from Claudia Milton. Hi, Garrett. I just wanted to confirm that the divorce papers will be served at 10 Woward this morning. I also told Harry about this. Have a nice day, no matter what. Before heading to the store, I double-checked that my home system was still recording and that it would send an alert to my phone if it was activated. I was scheduled to meet with the architect at 11:00 a.m. to discuss the latest changes my current client had requested. I was doing some little things before the meeting. I expected a call from Daphne a few minutes after she was served, but nothing came. At 10:45, I texted Harry that I was surprised Daphne hadn't tried to contact me. This means she spoke to Kramer about the divorce papers. They might as well be working on their threats already. I'll call Laura. Stay connected, answered Harry. Surprisingly, I managed to stay focused. I spent the rest of the day fixing my tools and tidying up the workshop. It was 15:12 when I received an alarm on my mobile phone. I texted Harry that the show was on the way. He sent the message with a thumbs up. I connected to my system and was able to see and hear what was happening in my home life. Daphne came in with a man I didn't know. They came to our house and turned on my computer. They didn't talk much. It took the guy a few minutes to crack my password, and then he inserted the flash drive into my computer and spent a good 10 minutes doing his dirty deeds. Good thing I was able to get clear pictures of his face. Daphne went to the guest room and packed her things into garbage bags because her suitcases were in the closet in the master bedroom, poor thing. When the guy finished, he turned off the computer and told Daphne that he was leaving. Daphne finished packing and left the house at 3:56 p.m. Harry called me a few seconds after the recording stopped. Okay, Garrett, now go home and act like you normally do. I'm guessing they'll call the police tonight or tomorrow for an inspector to visit you. It takes a few hours to get a search warrant, so you can expect to see them tomorrow. Are they going to arrest me? I asked. It's possible. But if you get arrested, you won't say anything. You won't answer any of their questions. I've already contacted my good friend, Stephen Lindsay. He is a criminal lawyer. I took the liberty of giving him all the relevant material, including the notes. He says, "This will be the easiest case this year," answered Harry. I gave Harry the code to turn my alarm system on/off in case I got arrested. We chatted some more and then hung up. When I drove home, I was tired and dazed. Nothing happened that evening. No police visits. No one called from Daphne. No nasty text messages from asshole Kramer. I made myself a sandwich and ate it in front of the TV. I debated with myself whether I should call my parents to tell them about the situation, but in the end, I decided it was best to wait until the storm passed. I'm not sure my mom understands anything about tampering with computer system files or videos stored in the cloud. It would just make her worry unnecessarily, and she wouldn't be able to add any value to the situation. The next day, I was in the store when I received another alert that someone was in the house. I liked it the day before. I sent Harry a message and connected to my system. The police entered my house and tried to disable the alarm. They must have turned off the system because I lost contact. Harry wrote to me that he saw everything and gave the pictures to Stephen Lindsay. About an hour after the police arrived at my home, 2 other police officers showed up at my store and arrested me. I was handcuffed and put into a police car. They quickly read me my rights and began asking questions that I refused to answer. When I arrived at the police station, they took my cell phone and wallet and put me in a cell with 5 other guys. Not many looks. Everyone tried to focus on the floor tiles. About 3 hours later, a security guard came and took me to a conference room where I was to meet my lawyer. "What the fuck?" I said to the guard. "I didn't even tell you who my lawyer is." The guy remained silent. He left me in the room alone. 10 minutes later, the door opened and Derek Kramer appeared with a grin the size of the Golden Gate. He sat in front of me without saying a word. I looked him in the eye and didn't say anything. After he was satisfied that he had fully established his superiority and made it clear that he was winning the war, he gave me a triumphant look and finally spoke. "Now do you see how serious I am?" I didn't answer. "I asked you a question, you little son of a bitch. Answer me." Nothing again. "It will be your word against mine, Morrison. The word of a carpenter against the word of one of the most famous lawyers in the city. Guess what will happen?" he asked with his eternal grin. He got up. "Okay, looks like you need to think about what I told you a little more. Then we'll talk again tomorrow morning. Maybe a night in this shared cell with your friends will bring you back to your senses," he said before leaving the room. I was returned to my cell. By that time, there were only 4 other guys. Another guy came to me in the middle of the day. I was taken to the same conference room. A tall, blonde man with a stern face was waiting there. "Don't mess with me," facial expression. He stood up when I entered. "Good afternoon, Garrett. It's very nice to meet you. My name is Stephen Lindsay. You can call me Stephen. Harry called me this afternoon and said he couldn't reach you. With everything going on, we figured they might have already arrested you and brought you here." I told Stephen everything that happened that day, including the threatening visit from Derek Kramer. Stephen's jaw dropped, but he didn't say anything. "Okay, you have to appear before the judge tomorrow morning. The judge will, of course, issue a serious warning, but don't worry. Harry will take care of everything. I know it's going to be a shitty night, but don't lose hope. Harry and I are here for you. Until then, continue to do a good job without answering any of their questions. I've already officially taken over your case and will make sure that Kramer doesn't visit you anymore." The next day, I appeared before the judge. I was accused of possessing child pornography. I, of course, did not plead guilty. Bail was set at $25,000. I was released that same day. I could not leave the city limits, and I could not contact my ex-wife, Derek Kramer, or anyone in their office, and I was prohibited from being alone in the presence of anyone under 18 years of age. But at least I could work in my workshop. My cell phone and wallet were returned to me. Stephen invited me over for late lunch, and we chatted some more. Yesterday, I didn't want to say too much at the police station because they have ears on the walls. But yesterday, I made some calls and did a little research, and I was able to find quite a bit of interesting stuff about our friend Derek Kramer. Let me tell you a few things that will calm you down. First, when police obtain a search warrant, it takes at least several hours before they can review the material found and obtain an arrest warrant. In your case, you were brought here before they even finished searching your house. Secondly, you weren't allowed to call me or Harry, but they allowed Derek Kramer to see you. These 2 elements make it obvious that the whole thing was staged, and this is completely illegal. Yes, but Harry says Kramer has all the judges wrapped around his finger, I said. Oh no, not all. You see, you can't make that many friends without making enemies, he said with a wink. I have no idea what I will find at home. I hope my loving wife and her asshole didn't steal everything. Do not worry about it. Harry went to your house right after the police left. He rearmed the system and set it to record again. No one came. I headed back to the store to pick up my car and then headed home to take a well-deserved and necessary shower. The architect left a message saying they had updated the plan and had the client's approval. This was good news. This meant that the next day I could go back to work and do something else. The house was in disarray. They searched everything. Other than a tampered computer, I knew they wouldn't be able to find anything incriminating. I started to put everything in order. That evening I cried for the first time. Just a week ago I was a happy man in what I considered a good marriage. Now I was suspected of a crime, about to get a divorce, and my wife's boss was playing me like a puppet. What did I do to deserve all this crap? At least I didn't see a single reporter. Guess they were too busy biting about the newly discovered multi-billion-dollar inexplicable hole in the government's finances to care about little Garrett. At the end of the next week, Stephen finally called me with a big surprise. All charges against me had been dropped. And it seemed that the inspector assigned to the case was not the kind of guy you would mess with, especially on the subject of blackmail. Apparently, he was not very impressed with Kramer's ruse and made sure that charges of blackmail, fabrication of evidence, and possession of child pornography would soon be brought against Derek Kramer. Daphne will be charged with conspiracy to commit these crimes. Harry called me 10 minutes after I hung up with Stephen to invite me to dinner that evening. On the way to Harry's house, I received a call from Claudia Milton, my family law attorney. Garrett, Daphne's lawyer, called me this afternoon and said that she was willing to sign the divorce papers without changes, but on one condition. She wants an hour-long private meeting with you. She says it could be in my office. Daphne was probably the last person I wanted to see, but I told myself that if this meeting could speed up the divorce, then it would be a good investment of time. I told Claudia to continue, that I would meet Daphne. I had a pleasant evening with Harry and Christina. It was the first truly relaxing evening in 2 weeks. Christina made coconut shrimp and rice. One could die for him. That evening, when I returned home, I felt calm. The meeting with Daphne was scheduled for next Wednesday. I was nervous about meeting her, although I had no reason to be nervous since I was the victim in this pathetic conspiracy. When I got there, I was directed to Claudia's office, who asked me to come a few minutes early so she could talk to me. Garrett, I don't know what she wants to tell you, but I must warn you. Criminal charges have been brought against her. Don't give her any ammunition. Don't say anything that could be used to discredit you if you are asked to testify in court. We are not allowed to search her for microphones or recording devices, so please be aware that she may be recording you. Okay, thanks for the warning, I said. I was taken to a small private meeting room. Daphne was already there. I was expecting to see the bitchy and arrogant Daphne of previous weeks. But Daphne, who sat in that room, was a broken woman. I felt a wave of compassion for her, but the vivid memory of her little act with Kramer before leaving for the weekend quickly dissolved any positive feelings I might have had for her. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Garrett. What do you want to tell me, Daphne, after everything you did to me? She began to cry. Garrett, I'm so ashamed of what I did to you. You are a wonderful husband. You don't deserve this. I was completely under Derek Kramer's spell. When I heard that the charges against you were dropped and that he and I were likely to go to trial, it gave me a shock that broke the spell. I have a hard time looking at myself in the mirror. And all this for the most pathetic sex in the world. Over the next 30 minutes, she continued to analyze her own behavior. She did not interrogate me or try to get any information from me. I realize we're done, Garrett. If I were you, I would do the same and file for divorce. So no, I don't blame you for divorcing me. I want to say that I quit my job. I told Derek Kramer I never wanted to talk to him again. I returned to my parents. I told them everything. They're mad at me. The atmosphere in the house is far from warm and cozy. I looked at her without saying anything. To be honest, there was nothing reasonable about any of this. She made the bed and now had to sleep in it. The coming months, and maybe even years, will be difficult for me, Garrett. I don't know what life has in store for me. The only thing I hope is that in a few years, when all is said and done, I will have a chance to at least become friends with you. It's a long way, Daphne. Very far. We'll see when we get there. Good luck. I got up and left the room. There was a part of me that still loved her, but there was no way I could be with her again. I dreamed of taking revenge on her, but events made her an unhappy woman. She had learned something, and there was no need for further revenge. Daphne was able to negotiate a plea deal in exchange for full cooperation with the authorities against Derek Kramer. She moved to another city. Since then, I have lost contact with her. When the charges against Kramer were made public, 2 other men stood up and filed a complaint against him for blackmail. As a result, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Since the police had recordings of all my conversations with him, I was not even required to testify. After Kramer was found guilty, I filed a civil suit against him and his firm, or what was left of it. I managed to get $2 million, of which Harry got a fair percentage. I pretended to be outraged, but it was all in good fun. Harry was so helpful that I was glad to give him the money he deserved. My company is doing very well. I am in the final stages of negotiations to acquire a specialist door manufacturer. This will be a nice addition to what we do. Now I have 6 employees, and they are like a second family. I was invited to a barbecue party thrown by Harry and Christine a few days after my divorce was official. I've never met Christina's little sister before. Katie and I hit it off instantly. To this day, we have been dating for several weeks. Let's see where life takes us. A few weeks after the civil case against CBH and Kramer was settled, I visited Kramer in prison. I told the guard that I had important things to tell Kramer and that I didn't want him to stop talking before I finished. The guy gave me a wry smile and told me to make sure I could tell Kramer whatever I wanted. Kramer walked in and turned to leave when he saw it was me. The guard ordered him to sit down and listen. "What do you want, kook?" he began. I looked at him with a sly grin. "Oh, launch a preemptive strike? Interesting. Rumor has it that your wife Jessica has filed for divorce? Maybe I should take her out to dinner and offer her a night she'll remember." "You fucking bastard! If you do, don't waste your pathetic saliva, asshole." "I've already done this. The little hummingbird she has tattooed on her upper left thigh is just beautiful, isn't it, Cook?" I asked with a grin. He was red as a beet. He was going to threaten me again, but at the last millisecond he realized that this would not help his cause. Anyway, the reason I'm here today is not to talk about Jessica. I just wanted to tell you that you are an idiot. An idiot who needs to be reminded from time to time that he is an idiot. You see, threatening a man in his own home and explaining in advance what you will do to him if he does not comply with your ridiculous demands is not exactly a sign of intelligence, is it? Even a carpenter knows this. Let's just say you were left in the dust this time. I started laughing. It began to boil. "Oh, and weren't you the one who told me that possessing some materials is illegal for a simple person like me, but completely normal for a powerful person like you? I am so in awe of your strength right now. I am amazed by your greatness. Maybe this is your overalls. It suits you so well. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.